Alright, this video is a continuation of my video creating a frequency distribution using Excel. I've already shown you how to create the frequency distribution for this particular problem, so we're going to continue by creating the frequency histogram and the frequency polygon and the ogive. And we're going to use the data set entitled President's Age at Time of Inauguration. And we've already created the frequency distribution, so we're going to move on and create the frequency histogram, the frequency polygon, and the ogive. And then we're going to, after we complete the three graphs, we're going to determine if there are any outliers and discuss what that might mean. So let's go ahead and return to Excel. And we're using this already created frequency distribution. And now we're going to go ahead and create the frequency histogram. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and select all the data in this frequency column. Then we're going to left click insert, and we're going to come over here and we are going to left click this down arrow next to the bar/column graphs, and then I'm going to scroll down to more column charts and left click that, and this one that pops up is the one that I want. So we'll left click OK. Now this is not traditionally a histogram per se, but we're going to make it into a histogram. So you'll notice that the vertical axis, the y-axis, is going to contain the frequencies of which we had already highlighted. And across the horizontal axis, or x-axis, is where we want to put the midpoints. But as you'll note, they are pre-filled with the numerical sequence 1 through 5, but we're going to change that. So the first thing that we're going to do is select this funnel, and then we're going to scroll down over here to select data. We're going to left click that, and we're going to come up here where it says horizontal axis labels, and we're going to left click edit. This is going to allow me to select the data values in the midpoint column, which is going to represent the horizontal axis. And you'll notice once I have selected them, those values have changed across the horizontal axis. I'll go ahead and click OK, click OK again, and now I have set this up with the proper numbers. It's not quite where it needs to be. Okay, what I need to do is be able to use the format data series stuff over here. But first, let's talk about that for a moment. If when you first create the histogram, that does not pop up, that pop-up menu, what you'll need to do is right-click somewhere outside of where the graph is. So if I click inside the graph, you'll see this perimeter, and we don't want to be in there, we want to be outside of it. I will right-click, and then what I'm going to do is scroll down and left click format chart area, and that brings up the pop-up. Now left click the bars, because right now does not represent a full histogram because there are spaces between adjacent bars, and we need to fix that. So we're going to come over here to the format data series window, and we will left click where we see the three bars, which is your series options. And you'll notice down here it says gap width, and right here it shows us it's 219%. I want it to be 0. So I'm just going to highlight, enter 0, press enter, and boom, we've done what we need to do. However, if I click outside of this, we note that there's no delineation between the bars. I want to fix that. So we'll left click the bars, we'll come over here to the fill in line icon, and then I'm going to come down here to where it says border, and I'm going to put solid line. Press enter, and notice that I now have solid lines delineating the bars. So I'm getting there. Now, a couple things. We need to also name our histogram, and chart title or just the word histogram doesn't cut it. What I need to do is replace this with what it is that I am visually representing, which in this case is age at inauguration. But I also need to label the axes, both the horizontal and the vertical. So I'll come over here to where we see this plus sign. I will left click that, that's the chart elements, and I'm going to go ahead and select axis titles. And now I can come and change these or edit these values. Right here I'm just going to put down age And I don't have to, I could put age at inauguration if I wanted to. And over here, I'm just going to simply label it as frequency. I'll use the delete key and the backspace key, and I know it may be a little difficult to keep in mind what you're doing since it is vertical instead of horizontal, but I've just typed in frequency, or the abbreviation for that. And now I'm done. I have finished my histogram based upon this frequency distribution. So this is my frequency histogram. Now what I want to do is go ahead and create the frequency polygon, which is going to be very similar in shape to the frequency histogram. Now, to create the polygon, what I want to do is go ahead and highlight this and just copy it. I don't necessarily have to do this, but this is going to make my life a little easier. And make sure that you paste values and not just the formulas, or use this one because you want to paste the values. You want the actual values that are in the columns. In order to do this, I'm going to highlight all of these, and then I'm going to show you a couple of things. And I'm going to go to Insert once again, and I'm going to come over here to the graphs. But here, I want to select the line graphs and come down here to where it says More Line Charts. I want this one right here. And I will left click it, and it will put that into my Excel spreadsheet. Now, there's a couple things wrong with this one. First off, in order for it to be a true frequency polygon, both the left tail and the right tail have to intersect the horizontal axis. So I'm going to have to somehow extend this and this down to the x-axis. In addition, I need to actually be able to see the points, and right now I can't. So I'm going to show you how to manipulate this so that we can extend the tails to intersect the x-axis, and how to make the points show up. So let's go up here to my table that I just copied, and this is why I copied it outside of the initial frequency distribution. I'm going to highlight both of these, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go ahead and insert. I want to shift the cells down, and then what I want to do is put a frequency of 0 here, because that's how it will intersect the x-axis. And then I'm going to need a value for the midpoint. And what I want to do is pretend that there is a class before this class right here, which means that I would need to subtract the class width of 6 from this 44.5. And so I'm going to use Excel to do that. We'll type in equals, we'll left click the cell, we'll subtract 6, and we'll press enter, and there we go. In addition, I'm going to come down here and do basically the same thing, but instead of subtract, I'm going to add. I'm still going to have a 0 frequency because that's what's going to allow it to intersect the x-axis, and then I'm simply going to add 6 to this value right here. So equals, we'll left click that cell, we're going to add 6, and there we go. But you'll notice that right now, the only data values that are showing up in my graph are these right here. So I have to add them in. So how to do that? Well, let's left click on the graph line. You'll see that the points are highlighted here. I'm going to go up here, and you'll see that my data values have also been highlighted. I'm going to take this middle square, I'm going to put my cursor over it, and I'm going to move it up. Actually, I want to catch both of them. Well, let's go ahead and bring that one up too. And you'll notice that it now has added the midpoint of 38.5, and it's intersecting the x-axis. I want to do the same thing here. Okay, so now I have intersected the x-axis. Now I need to add in the points so that we can see them. Once again, left click, and then left click the paintbrush. That's your chart styles. And you'll note that it gives you different styles. Well, I don't want any of these. I want to scroll down until I get to this one right here. I'm going to left click that, and then I'm going to click outside of it, and now I have diamonds. Well, I don't really want diamonds, I want round points. So let's go back in and let me show you how easy it is to just change these things. And so we're looking for points, and so there's the one with the points. I left click outside to make sure those work, and you can see them. I can even change the colors on those if I so desire. So once again, we'll left click. Notice that all of the points are highlighted, and I want to come back over here to the Format Data Series and left click the fill in line if it's not already clicked, and you'll now see that I have two options, line and marker. I'm going to left click marker, and then I'm going to go ahead and change the color on that. And then I'm going to come back over here, left click the fill, go to marker as I just said, and now I want to fill the points, and I'm going to put solid fill, and notice that they've already changed because the color defaulted to black, and there we go. Not quite done because I still need to go ahead and change the title, and once again we'll just use age at inauguration. And then we need to go ahead and add in the axis titles. And we'll change this. Once again, we can just simply put age in there. And over here, we'll just put frequency. And there, we're done with our frequency polygon. So now the next thing that we want to do is the ogive. Now remember, an ogive is simply a cumulative frequency graph, so I'm going to need my cumulative frequency column. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and I'm just going to put it right over here, actually right there, and I want to copy the values. I am going to need a 0 value here because it's going to need to start at the x-axis, and so I'll just write CM here, CF. And I'm going to select this column, but I'm not going to use the last one. I don't need it. And then I'm going to press and hold the Control key and select this column. Now I've got my ordered pairs that I'll use to create my ogive. I go to Insert. I'm going to come back over here to Line Graph. I'm going to click the down arrow, come to More Line Charts, and I'm going to left click this one. You'll notice that it's already populated what it needs. And I just need to tidy this up just like we did with the frequency polygon. Okay, like I said, it's a cumulative frequency curve, and so all I really want to do is go ahead and change the dots, or points as it were, and make sure that I have ones that are round. And then I can go ahead and change the colors on these if I want to. Come back over here to line and fill. I'll go to marker, and I want solid fill, and I'm going to make them black. And I don't have to do that, but I'm just doing it so that I can see them. So let's go ahead and tidy up the chart title. This is an ogive, but we are going to call it age at inauguration. You would think that I would have copied and pasted this since I've done it 3 times, but no. And then, of course, I want to add in the horizontal and vertical axis titles. So then we'll go here and we're going to add in age. And over here, we'll change this and add in frequency. And you'll see that it gets easier the more you do this. Now, I do want to go ahead and state that these are not the only ways to create these types of graphs. This is just one way to do it. This happens to be the way that works easiest for me, and so therefore I just wanted to go ahead and give you a basic introduction and show you just how powerful Excel really is. And for a statistics class, if you're not using any special software like SPSS or JMP or Minitab, this is a very good alternative.